Dean Curry here, Fantasy Football RSVP. So let's get right to it with our diverse analysis and strategy for week 3 of the waiver wire. Now, who are we going to go with at quarterback? It's getting a little thin. There's some injuries. Roethlisberger, Breeze, not really big on their replacements, but I really like Jimmy Garoppolo of the 49ers. I really think they have a balanced attack, really, with Mostert and Breida. They're really solidifying their running game. They both catch out of the backfield. They have a trio of really good wide receivers, better than people think, and I think they're going to be doing really, really well, and Jimmy Garoppolo looks stronger every week. I think he's a solid quarterback to pick up if you have no one else. I also like Josh Allen of the Bills. I think he's extremely solid running the ball, passing the ball. Their running games seems to be okay with Frank Gore working in there, and Singletary will be getting back soon. And their receivers are doing really well with John Brown, and I just really think he's a confident, guy, and he's going to get in PPR leagues. He's going to get a lot of yards running the ball. And he's pretty crafty, great athlete, and I really think he's a tremendous play. So he's definitely someone that you should have in your team in league championship play. We're always trying to think out of the box and think of guys that are, going to be good before they become good, because then it's too late. I really like, Peyton Barber, of the Bucks. I know Ronald Jones, he was the talk out of, and he did really well the first game. But, I watched the Panthers game. The Panthers, they have a very solid defensive line, very solid defensive front. And Barber was running with reckless abandon, and he's a better catcher out of the backfield. I really like him. And I really think Barber's going to, I hate to say it because they thought Ronald Jones was going to win that, position. But I really think that Peyton Barber's the smarter play over the long haul. If you're really thinking about it, and if you watched again, you got to watch these games, because Peyton really looked like he was running in between the tackles. And Arians has said repeatedly that he's the first option. So, yeah, he also said he's going to ride the hot hand. But the bottom line is he's going to ride the hot hand, but Peyton Barber's always going to get, the carries. And if he keeps doing well, eventually Arians has a tendency to showcase one back eventually, like he did with David Johnson with the Cardinals. That's where he really likes to go. So he's not a guy that's just going to keep a committee like, the Eagles coach that's always going to, run a committee, all the time. But I really like Peyton Barber. As far as who else, Royce Freeman, I think, is going to win the job for the Broncos. He just looks like the better back. I mean, I know, they have, other running backs on the team, but I just really think that the team, things I'm reading about and constantly, it just seems like they're going to go in that direction. And he's not just running the ball, he's catching. He had 5 receptions last week, and he's a more solid, back. And I really think that, Denver, a lot of people thought they were going to be a terrible team this year, but, they're a lot better than people think. Their defense is pretty good. They have good receivers. Flacco looked pretty good last week for the most part. He's with a brand new team, not easy to come in, and it looks like he's starting to find this rhythm, and they have a good running game. And I really think Royce Freeman, 50 yards, running the ball as well. And he had 5 catches for about the same, and he's really coming on. I think you should really consider, picking him up. And you don't have to necessarily play him. You have to think these things through. You don't just throw him into your starting lineup. You watch him for a week or two, and is a good bench player, because when it starts to come on, you're better being, a week late than a week early. That's what I say. And, if you start off your season, losing a game or two, I mean, don't panic. It doesn't matter. I mean, I knew a guy, he won his league, and he's one of the smartest guys I know in playing and understanding football, and he wins his league every year. And then like one year he played in the same league that he always wins, and he lost almost every game. He couldn't believe it. Just everything, went wrong. And that, it doesn't matter how much you know. Sometimes you just sometimes it doesn't line up well. You could know a lot and things don't work out. But the most important thing is not to panic and keep thinking. And, if you start the season off poorly, I mean, that's the way it goes sometimes. You can't, there's a degree of luck involved. And, never panic. That's where people start making mistakes. They start panicking. They start trading away good players. They start overthinking it. Just write it out. And sometimes you're just not going to have, it's just not going to line up for you, And like I said, I knew a guy who won his league, and then, he just, couldn't catch a break the next year. It's like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So, don't worry about it. Just hang in there, but mostly don't panic. As far as wide receivers, very quickly, I like Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks. I think he's really coming on, starting to build a little chemistry with the quarterback, Russell Wilson. I think that, he's going to see more and more play as the year goes on and develop into the number one. And their passing game's going to develop, and I saw it last week, starting to develop and start to think about things before they happen. Russell Wilson's a slow starter as far as passing is concerned, and he gets hotter and hotter as the year goes on. So I really think you should consider him. Someone I've been mentioning, if he's still available, I don't know if he's still going to be available, but John Ross is someone I've been mentioning for a while, and a lot of people haven't picked him up because they're thinking A.J. Green's going to come back, but A.J. Green is someone that continually gets injured, being a personal trainer and licensed massage therapist and rehabilitation specialist. I understand, the foot and ankle and feet injuries that A.J. Green has had, and these are recurring things that are going to come up. So John Ross is still going to get points if A.J. Green comes back, but I wouldn't, trust the injuries. You got to pay attention to injuries. I wouldn't trust the injuries that A.J. Green's having. I would certainly, think about having John Ross for the long term. I think he's, a tremendous play. As far as tight ends, I really do like Will Dissly. This week. He's probably available. This is a guy that looks good after he catches the ball. He doesn't just, catch the ball, but he's good after he catches the ball, and he's very, very good in being, running people over basically, but, he's got good hands, he runs good routes, and he's elusive for a big guy. I mean, he really, runs well after the catch. So, and, they like using their tight ends in Seattle. They really do. And, they really want to use this guy, and he's building great chemistry. So I would certainly consider having him. An outside thing you might want to look at is the Patriots have Ben Watson coming up back in Game 5. If you have a roster spot on your bench, you might want to put him on your bench. We know the Patriots like to use their tight end and have that diversity and culture in their offense. So you might want to consider having Benjamin Watson. And when he comes back in Game 5, you can have him on your bench. As far as defense is concerned, I really like a couple of plays here. You have the 49ers against the Steelers. The Steelers are a little bit of a mess now that they lost Ben Roethlisberger, even though their backup quarterback looked okay. Their running game and their passing game doesn't look very good. And it's typical, a guy comes out first time, does well, and then he comes back to earth in the following weeks, and there's a growing curve. I wouldn't trust it, and they haven't looked very good on defense. And the 49ers have an underrated team. That might be a really, really nice play. Of course, if the Cowboys are available against Miami, which they probably aren't, you might want to consider having that as well. As far as kickers are concerned, you always want to look for kickers that have trouble getting into the end zone. And that's the Chicago Bears. Their kicker, Pinheiro, looked really good. He popped 2 from 50. I would consider definitely having Pinheiro out there. He's a definite perfect play, I think, because he's got a strong leg, and they're going to kick a lot of field goals in that team because they move the ball. And their defense also gives them a lot of opportunities. So I'm Dean Curry, president, founder of Rising Star Enterprises for Wellbeing. We are also on live365.com, our radio station, Uptempo Sports Fitness Radio. You put that in the search bar, and you can listen to not only football, but you can listen to fitness and well-being, and a lot of tapes on nutrition and diet, along with football, diverse strategy and analysis on American football for league championship play as well in fantasy football. And if you want one-on-one advice and you want, special advice, you can have that as well on Fantasy Football RSVP. I'm Dean Curry, and have yourself a wonderful day. If you want any advice as far as one-on-one, you can have that as well. You could become part of the Knights and Dames Fantasy Football RSVP Knights and Dames. You go to our website, which is fantasyfootballrsvp.com, and you get so much for $7.77 a month, which is absolutely nothing. You can actually speak to me each week for 7 minutes, and we could go over your lineup. You could email me, and we could also talk about, look at your lineup and figure out trades for you. And I'm extremely effective on giving balance to a team and figuring out exactly what you need to do to win and to outthink your competition, which is something that I work very hard in doing. So, and you become also part of the chat rooms and future leagues and, private videos and private blogs each week. So $7.77, when you really think about it, it's that basically like 30 cents a day. You will basically have an expert in your corner who's going to give you advice on how to win, and it's really a phenomenal thing if you want to win your league. So I'm Dean Curry again. Have yourselves a wonderful day and a better tomorrow, and I wish you the very best in your leagues. And don't hesitate to contact or leave a question. Subscribe to the channel as well. And have yourself a great week.